video, we're going to practice solving multi-step equations. So this first example, I've got 3 times the quantity 3x minus 5 equals 39. So the first thing I want to do is to simplify anything in my equation. And in this case, I can simplify by distributing my 3. So I'm going to start by distributing the 3 to everything in parentheses. So I get 9x minus 15 equals 39. Now I've got a 2-step equations that I've been working with. So now I'm going to add or subtract first. My goal is to isolate my variable. So I'm going to do that by doing inverse operation. So instead of a minus 15, I'm going to add 15 to both sides. These 15s cancel out. So I'm left with my 9x equals 54. So now I have 9 times x, so I'm going to do my inverse operation and divide by 9. I'm also going to do it to this side. Those cancel out, so x equals 6. So my solution to this problem is x equals 6. In this example, we have a fraction, but we're going to think of that fraction as a division problem. So we have negative 2 equals 3x plus 7 in that whole numerator divided by 4. So the first goal is to actually multiply both sides by the denominator. That way we can get rid of our fraction. So I'm going to start by multiplying my right side by 4 as well as this side by 4. So these 4's will cancel out. So on the right-hand side, I'm left with 3x plus 7. And on the left-hand side, 4 times negative 2 equals negative 8. So now I'm back to my 2-step equation. So I'm going to add or subtract from both sides. So my whole goal is to isolate this x. So I'm adding 7 to that. So the opposite would be to subtract 7. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. These 7's cancel out. So I have negative 15 equals 3x. Next, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So I continue my inverse operations. Those 3's cancel out. So x equals negative 5. In this problem, I have negative 4y plus 2 times the quantity y minus 4, which all equals 2. So before I start solving for the variable, I first want to simplify the left-hand side of my equation. So I'm going to do that by distributing my 2. So my 2 is going to get distributed to everything in parentheses. So I'm going to bring down my negative 4y. And then when I distribute the 2, I get plus 2y minus 8 equals 2. Now, so I've distributed, now I'm going to combine like terms. I'm going to combine my minus 4y with my plus 2y. So negative 4y plus 2y would be negative 2y minus 8 equals 2. And now I'm back to my 2-step equations. So I'm going to draw my line to remember to do things to both sides. So I'm first going to add or subtract. So instead of subtracting 8, I'm now going to add 8 to both sides. So those cancel out. So I get negative 2y equals 10. Now I need to divide both sides by negative 2. So y equals 10 divided by negative 2, which is negative 5. In our last couple examples, we're going to look at problems that have variables on both sides. So let's first look at a simple problem using pictures. So if we have 4x plus 1, so I have that on the left side of my equation, and 2x plus 5 on the right-hand side of my equation, I want to keep this balanced. So I'm going to do that by looking at what's the same on both sides, and I'm going to cross off similar items. So on both sides, I can cross off 2x's, and on both sides, I can cross off a 1. So now I look at what's left. I have 2x's on one side, and I have 4 on the other side. So I'm going to group them together. So 1x is going to equal 2. So in my equation, x equals 2. Now, unfortunately, all of our problems aren't going to be simple enough to be able to do pictures, but it's a good visual to remember why we're doing these steps. So in this example, we have 11 plus 15v equals negative 7 plus 13v. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is to think about getting all of our variables to the same side. So if you think of one variable as being, or one side being our variable terms, and the other side then can be our constant terms. So what that means is we want to get all the variables to the left and all of our numbers to the right, our constants. And to be honest, it doesn't matter. You could flip-flop that and do all the variables to the right and the constants to the left, just as long as your ultimate goal is to get the variable and what it equals. So in this case, I'm going to do my variables to the left. So that means this plus 13v, I'm going to do the inverse or the opposite. So I'm going to subtract 13v from this term. And I'm also going to subtract 13v from this term. Now, it's very important that you match these up because they are like terms. I can't take away 13v from 11 because this 11 doesn't have a v, so they're unlike terms. So again, you have to match things up. So now I'm going to simplify. That was awful. We'll just go with it. My bad. So these cancel out. So on this side, I'm left with a negative 7. And over here, I'm left with 11 plus 2v. Now this looks like our two-step equations that we keep coming back to. So I'm going to add or subtract. This is a positive 11, which means I'm going to subtract 11 from this side, which means I also have to subtract 11 from my right. At least I did better this time with my lines. So I've got 2v equals negative 18. Now, last step is to divide both sides by 2. My 2's cancel out, so my solution is v equals negative 9. So just remember to always get the variables to one side. And again, doesn't matter which side you go to, you'll always end up with the same answer at the end.